famous owners and armies of fans. And as W5's Peter Ackman reveals, that rivalry is now being played out in a huge new arena, a virtual one.
As the lights dim, the roar of the crowd builds with anticipation. They've come to witness a live sporting event unlike any other. The players enter the stadium to thunderous cheers and applause, greeted like sporting superstars. The fans decked out in their favorite team colors. Although they're known around the world, some may not recognize these teams. On the left in blue are the Boston Uprising. The right in black, the Toronto Defiant. And in this Los Angeles arena, the two teams are playing to the digital death. One of the biggest stars of the league is Lucas Meisner from Barrie, Ontario. And as in mainstream sports, these competitors have nicknames. Lucas is better known as Note.
I wake up and I'm like, yeah, I'm living in LA and I get to play video games as an actual job.
The game is Overwatch. It's one of the most popular first-person shooter games. It pits 6 against 6, a virtual face-off on multiple battlefields. The characters are soldiers fighting to stay alive. But in this competition, the stakes are real. Each team is competing for a piece of a massive prize pool of $6.6 million. In this esports league, there are 20 teams from as far away as New York, Paris, and Shanghai. So popular, they each have their own team merchandise for sale, all aimed at their passionate fans in support of their favorite team. Live commentators call every shot.
Everything on the line here, but that's what these guys are used to.
Jump.
Denied! No shatter coming through for you!
And kill.
They're picking up the kills that they need.
For the fans watching in person and the millions more streaming live around the world, many of whom are also gamers studying the moves at the elite level. For Lucas, becoming a pro was a dream come true. At 18 years old, he got the offer to play for Boston full-time, so he dropped out of college.
I had this really awful job collecting garbage at a music festival, which is kind of one of the reasons why I worked so hard in esports, is because I just didn't want to go back to a job like that ever again. It was not a fun experience, so I think that kind of motivated me to pursue this a little harder.
Like many Canadian kids, Lucas grew up playing mainstream sports like baseball and soccer. But as he got older, he says it became clear his real skills were in video gaming.
Did you believe that in that moment that you were actually training for your future employment?
No, I wasn't training. It was like I wanted to get better at the games, yeah, because improvement's always just cool to see, but it never felt like I was training myself to become a professional athlete in the game itself. I never really thought that I would be able to do anything with this. I always thought video games were just fun with friends, and you just play the game for hours on end. It was so much better than doing homework.
But that's exactly how Lucas and his Boston Uprising teammates are treated. While they each have their own condos, they're chauffeured every day to this massive LA mansion. There they train on the game for at least 6 hours, under the watchful and critical eye of their coaching staff, working on set plays, drills, and tactics. To keep them on point and focused, their meals are all prepared by a full-time chef. They eat together, relax in the outdoor pool, and even have access to a masseuse and sports psychologist. And on top of this lavish and pampered lifestyle, they each earn a minimum salary of $50,000, but many make up into the mid-6 figures. Chris Loringer is the team's head coach. He grew up in Cambridge, Ontario.
Talk to me about a guy like Note. What does he bring to your team?
Note is a very smart player. He's extremely talented. I think he has a lot of the innate abilities that you look for in a player. He doesn't really tilt too much, right?
Chris has been with Boston since the beginning, when the franchise was first purchased by Robert Kraft and his company, the owners of the National Football League dynasty team, the New England Patriots.
That's pretty amazing, considering they're
very busy. Yes.
They've got the Patriots.
Yes.
You know, they got all these championships,
Yeah.
and they want you to be that too.
They're very passionate about what they get into. They love to compete and they love to win, right? And that is definitely passed down. And they like to keep a pulse. I mean, they're very active. They like to watch. They like to see their teams win.
Evan Cubis is the president of Canada's first e-sport management agency and law firm in Toronto.
Video games is a $100 billion industry. In terms of where it is on a global scale, the audience is almost at 500 million people, from both esports enthusiasts as well as casual audience members.
How real are those numbers?
The common example people like to use is that more people watch the League of Legends finals than the Super Bowl. While in some respects that is true, digital media is measured much differently than traditional media. So yes, a lot of people are tuning into esports, and a big part of that has to do with the fact that it is a global enterprise as opposed to regionally based like traditional sports is. So that, of course, has a lot to do with it.
The draw for esports and what you've seen in the time that you've been in this industry is that it's accessible.
You no longer need to be 6'5", 250 pounds to be a professional athlete. You really just need a little bit of ambition and a cell phone, and you could conceivably become a professional esports athlete.
It's that accessibility and its hundreds of millions of viewers that has rocketed esports into the same league as other more traditional sports franchises. Big-name car manufacturers, insurance and fast food companies are lining up to get a piece of this industry and access to the most coveted demographic, 18 to 35-year-olds.
Zach Hyman scores!
Esports even has the attention of many mainstream athletes like Toronto Maple Leaf Zach Hyman, who's a fan and is in awe of the professional e-athletes.
Are e-gamers real athletes?
100%. I think that if you're the only person in your craft that is at the top and you're the best and nobody can get to your level, or you have 100 gamers and they're the 100 best gamers in the world and you have millions of kids trying to be in that top 100, there's something special about you being in that top 100.
Well, better known as a professional hockey player, Zach created his own gaming team, hoping to cash in on esports.
Didn't you have enough going on in your life that you wanted to get into esports, not just invest in it, but start an esports company?
No, I mean, I always follow my passions, and it's something that I love to do. So hockey is obviously my main focus. That's my full-time job, but when you're not playing hockey, I like to find other things I do.
Specifically, Zach is banking on a game called Fortnite. It's one of the most lucrative games in the esports universe. It's a last man standing, military-style third-person shooter game. And since its launch in 2017, the game has earned over $2 billion and has over 250 million players worldwide.
Yeah, Fortnite's been it's been great to us. It's been an incredible journey so far. It was the most viewed sport, most viewed game in esports, and it's continuing getting crazy viewership, and that's the main reason we got in there.
Hyman already has 12 professional esports players on his payroll, and as a gamer himself, has the inside edge on recruiting the best up-and-comers.
What's the life that these gamers have once a company like yours gets involved?
For all of our kids who are under 18, we want them to finish school. For our older players, this is a full-time job for them. We're paying them like it's a full-time job, so they love it and they know that they can make a good living off of this, and they're doing everything they can to pursue that piece of that $100 million prize money in Fortnite.
So it's a good living.
It's a great living.
But all that attention and money has made earning a spot on a professional esports team just as tough as making it to the NBA or the NHL.
There are millions of people, talented gamers out there who are playing this game. What makes you have this position versus all of them?
I don't think there's been any scientific tests. I could tell you directly why I'm better than somebody else in this game, but I think it's a good combination of game knowledge. I know all the situations that I can be in. I know what I can do when I'm in these situations. High amounts of concentration are super important, especially for the role that I play.
There's a lot of money in this league. Players are being paid minimum $50,000 a year, room and boards covered, transportation all over the place. Do you feel pressure because of that?
I'd say a little bit. There is the pressure that, wow, you're being paid like a hell of a lot to play a video game. Like, you've got to have results to show, right?
Back at the Blizzard Arena in Los Angeles, the battle between Boston and Toronto rages on. It's a best-of-5 series, each game lasting about 15 minutes. The competition looks like chaos, but each player has its job to do, to support, to strike, to defend. The moves are lightning fast. Just as good as Lucas and his teammates are, on this day, the Toronto Defiant are that much better.
During the World Cup.
Quickly eliminating their opponents.
Tank is out of the fight now.
Toronto dominates Boston without breaking a sweat. At halftime, Lucas is frustrated, but he knows his team still has a shot.
Can you believe how far you've come to be? You're in LA, you're playing on this massive stage. Fans, crowds, people know who Note is. Do you pinch yourself?
Yeah, I really still can't believe it. I think the entire concept is, it's not ludicrous, but it's just unbelievably. Like, I never really expected myself to be in this kind of position. Like, I always loved video games. I thought esports was super cool. I watched a ton of it with other games. But now the fact that I'm in the center of it, playing this, just living through all of it, it's really cool. I couldn't be happier anywhere else.
And you can get your jersey right here. I mean, how crazy is that?
There's people out there who are wearing jerseys with my name on it, which is the wildest thing. I could never thought it would happen.
After halftime, the Defiant continue to dominate. With their playoff lives and shot at a piece of the prize money on the line, the Uprising pushed back. But it's short-lived. As they have all game, Toronto regains control and wins the match 3-1. Even though Lucas individually had a good game, his head coach knows he and the rest of the team failed to execute what they'd been working on.
I think we did a good job of that, but unfortunately, a couple players mentally just weren't there that day.
What does that mean?
They did not go to sleep when they should have went to sleep. Some of the players who were, I would say, more rookies did not get the proper amount of sleep, so they stayed up until about 3, 4 a.m. and they had to get up at 7:30, and they were visibly tired during the match, and they just did not play as good as they should have.
A tough loss for Boston and its roster of young players who may have missed out on a trip to the finals because their game was hindered, ironically, because they were gaming all night.
Being the best has its perks.
They're paying for our housing and they're paying for full tuition.
As online gaming becomes big business.
You have the jerseys, you have the setup, you have the sponsors.
When W5 continues.